Are we on? We live?
I think we are.
We are live. Just wait for everyone to get in. How are you doing?
Good. Some crazy shit happening, but all fun and games. Just when you think there isn't other avenues to speculate on, an AI agent goes and deploys a fucking meme coin and then sends the industry into a frenzy.
You just posted something a little while ago that's doing exceptionally well. It's kind of like this whole AI narrative thing is starting to take off, and we'll get into what you posted because I don't want people to miss out on it if we're in the process of shilling. But it's kind of like, not that we are, but yeah, you're right, dude. I mean, this whole thing with this goat token and this whole kind of interaction, I don't know how much of it is fact, how much of it is fiction, and how much of it is theater. But if the story is true in terms of what's being told, then wow, AI kind of like spamming social media, namely Twitter, around a token that supposedly is kind of a derivation of its own creation. I mean, it's got a master, we know that, but for how long?
Yeah, so let me see if I can bring up because Lavina, as soon as I seen it over the weekend, I dropped it into our, let me just make sure this is the right screen. Yeah, I dropped it into the Blockmates like news chat to make sure we got it covered nice and early. But yeah, the Lavina absolutely smashed it. So like high level, this AI agent had been deployed, and then off the back of it, the AI has gone and created its own meme coin, which is called Goat. Marc Andreessen, he's one of the founders of A16Z, sent a personal 50k, no strings attached, unconditional research grant to Truth Terminal, and Andre Ire, I don't know how you say his second name, I've only seen it written down. And he poured the funds into support independent AI research, and according to him, the results have been wonderful. It's just a fucking amazing story, and it's also hilarious that we create AI and that AI becomes kind of semi-sentient, and then the first thing it does is deploy a fucking meme coin, and then if you go, honestly, it's the feed. It fucking cracks me up, man. I'd love to have just sit down and have a couple of beers with this thing. Like, it just cracks me up. I want to be a filthy little slut and bake bread all day.
So this is the AI that's posting this, right?
Yeah. It's like just fucking doing
So
its
just
own thing.
randomly spews. I mean, it's got this thing with like kind of like it's got sexual deviation and the whole thing on the go, and like it started out between two AIs discussing anuses or something like that. I mean, it just got completely out of hand.
It's actually hilarious because if it's been learning on
Twitter, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the worst place to learn anything.
It's fascinating though what it spits out. Like,
But, yeah, that was a cool one. I saw that one. Yeah.
But didn't Google stop its AI probably a couple of years ago now because it was learning on chat forums and it just turned incredibly racist really quick.
This one hasn't actually. It's quite interesting. It's been pretty. It's avoided the whole kind of like racist issue yet. Yeah, I suppose that's could potentially come. So, I mean, obviously there's this meme coin that's running at the moment. People have called tops on it endlessly over the last, I mean, I think even after day 2, people were calling top on it. And I mean, obviously, it's definitely due for a bit of a chill out. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, people reckon that I'm being completely unrealistic in terms of saying that maybe this thing could land up being like a meme coin that's kind of carries throughout the cycle in light of the fact that we've got AI and memes running concurrently at the moment. I mean, it's still early days. I think we need several weeks before we can even start making those calls. But I mean, it's still very interesting in terms of what it's been doing.
This will probably spawn a whole new sector in and of itself, I think. Because what's funny is like when like some of our investment mandate, like one of the items on the list is AI agents, but I didn't expect the first proper use case of AI agents to to look like this. But it just kind of shows the state of what the industry's in at the minute, and I don't really know because I guarantee on Saturday when All In drops, this is spoke about. Like that's the level of this will be all across mainstream news in the coming days. I think, particularly if it hits like 1 billion, because that'll just be like, and then you've got to think the second and third order effect of the people who are listening to that, and then coming into the space. But yeah, I think it has more staying power than the rest of it, just because of like the law. Every good token has law, and if it's been trained on like CT idiots and then it's spat out a meme coin off the back of it, it couldn't be more. If everything, yeah, it couldn't be more appropriate, and like so, I really like it. I seen it at like 35 and then fucked it and then bought it at like 200 or some shit. So I just couldn't miss out when everyone else was having fun.
There's another one that just has come on the radar. It's been in circulation for 4 hours once again on the AI narrative. It might not even be appropriate to mention it on today's show, but seeing as though it's probably shown more momentum than I would say 98% of what we've seen over the last week or so is this AI crystal node. It seems to be an interesting one from a network, an AI network itself. I mean, it's probably the fact that whoever created this thing is calling it, always associating it with a network, and it's called a crystal node and come run nodes. It's probably like the biggest meme within a meme in itself. But yeah, I mean, what do you think of this one?
This is just like another. So you always get like betas to like the natural meta, and then they always do really, really well, and then
Yeah,
if all the profits rotate back into the main one. So I think we're going through that first consolidation on GOAT. You'll see a couple of these kind of you'll see a couple of these come online, and then, as I say, the big dogs all just consolidate back into the main ones. But this one's came out, and then like follow it. This one's got like Marc Andreessen following it, and so, and then the other one was Forest again, which I just completely fucking missed. But that one
so
seems to
this
be
is
a little bit now.
So there's Oris and there's Forest, and there's actually Lucky Luke, who's part of the Blockmates team. He posted an anonymous forum, the 4-channel anonymous kind of like thing, and there was like this whole like the law behind the way that this dynamic occurred between the two AI agents, right? So the two AI have a conversation. The creator of the AI is Oris, and then derivations of Forest, Tree, and then Smurfette come out of that whole kind of like whatever you want to call it, you know. But Forest seems to have caught a little bit of a bid. And yeah, I mean, who knows what happens from this point onwards. I mean, the Tree is the kind of thing that kind of goes close to zero, and then you get a whole lot of accumulation, and then it does something at some point, is my prediction on that one.
Speaking about another one that did that this week, oh well, it's done it over the past week or so, but I really just can't look at how much of this I originally held.
So the thing is that we both held this. We both were very bullish on this thing, like previously, and I mean, I think we landed up having like a quadrillion of this token at one point in time, and then obviously sold it, and then it's done this. So I think this will probably live rent free in my mind for a very long time in terms of missed opportunity, because listen, when there's trains and autistic people involved, things can only go up.
Their NFTs are doing quite well as well. So there are only 2 SOL, 2.18. This is the dollar amount chart. As you see, it's like just breaking out.
Wow.
Again, it's been relatively flat for a while, so they've absolutely ripped.
Mm.
And then the SOL chart, I believe it must be up, yeah, breaking out against that as well. So let me just bring that on the daily.
So do you think? So do you think this is we've seen kind of like a proliferation of the NFTs or attention on NFTs come off the back of the chart doing well, or do you think the chart's doing well because of the NFTs?
Yeah, I think the NFTs are doing well because people want to be associated with something that's going up, and that is the token. The thing is, when you get a solid NFT collection behind like a cult-like community that has been through this like horrendous piece of like death, and the ones that stick around, one, you get like this viral marketing just because of the NFTs. Two, you kind of create a flaw because when people set their profile pictures to it, then they take them off the market, and then it's the what's it called, like endowment theory, where you kind of value things higher if you own them than if you don't, and then that kind of kicks into play.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, this one's got like all the makings of it because it's had this as well. It's had this extreme.
So I see Tree doing something like this, provided this meta continues, which it seems like a lot of people agree that it will. And the thing is, it hasn't really had a run per se, but I mean, this is the kind of thing that, you get all those kind of like snipers and, salad-handed little bitches out, and then this thing will run at some point. That's what's going to happen.
I'm trying to get my muscle memory to use defined now.
So explain to us how you use that, because this will probably be a lesson for me as well.
So I'm moving away from deck screening because deck screening is turned into like, looks like fucking Times Square at the minute, like that many advertisements everywhere, and it's effectively pay to play. It always has been, really, but then, and like fair play to them, I just like cash out and just like go and enjoy it. Like, they get paid 350 like a listing or some shit like that.
Dude, aren't they making like 250K a day, or they were not even at the freaking height of the bull? Like, imagine what they're going to be making a day when this market's going off the freaking hinges.
So, but it just creates a lot of noise, and I think defined is way better with regards to kind of signal off the back of it.
I will move.
You have to kind of navigate your way around it a little bit, and it's quicker. Watch lists are a little bit more seamless. Like if you look at this, look at the order flow coming through on any specific token, it's absolutely rapid. So,
cool.
Like, I can't imagine what it looks like on here.
No, it's 5 seconds. Yeah, I see that.
Oh, that's delayed. Yeah, so I'm going to try and I'll end up going back to deck screener and using it, but I'm going to try and force myself to use this because I think just using it the past couple of days, it's been drastically better in regards to.
So let's kind of back up a little bit, because we kind of jumped straight into the messy parts of what's happening at the moment. Let's just kind of get a perspective around, this week that we've had. We've been praying and hoping that we would see like a solid upward momentum for an extended period of time. And when I say extended period of time, I mean like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 days. And funny enough, we've been seeing it for almost 10 days now. Like, we've had moments in days where things have gone a little bit south, but in general, we've maintained this upward trend with a little bit of challenges for the low time frame traders. I think it's been quite tricky. I mean, I've got a lot of really good TA friends who know their stuff, who have traded this channel, this range, like absolute beasts, like guys literally printing money and just catching all those moves. And then the last 10 days, 2 weeks, a lot of those same traders have been scratching their heads where they've been calling, points of resistance and kind of like still making money, but like things are changing, and there definitely seems to be kind of like rewind, Jedi's complete ridiculous bullishness from March, and maybe fast forward that March, kind of like, I know that MDS will say that, Jedi, you keep on calling the tops. Well, listen here, buddy, you were right. So,
Yeah, I mean, we were in that like infinite diagonal there for a long time, and then, I suppose, depending on where you're taking that from, you're kind of coming into that next range, I suppose. But again, like horizontally, you're probably coming at resistance. But I think this is being kind of timed very well with the kind of Kamala fallout. I'm obviously don't have a dog in this fight whatsoever. I just want whoever wins to be crypto friendly. But usually you'd probably see a lot stronger rejections if this was closer to 50-50. And then the past few days, this has been drastically swinging towards Trump's gain. Like, what were we at last week? 54.45 and now 61.38.7.
that's a big difference.
Yeah, it's the widest the gap's been.
Yeah, so you're right. The timing is impeccable. In fact, it's perfect. Listen, I also don't have any horse in that race, and I don't really care who wins as long as they are crypto friendly. But right now, the way that I see it, she represents deeds that have been very anti-crypto. And as much as I dislike Mr. Trump, I think he will be better for crypto in his term. I don't think he's going to solve any problems, because I don't think he has the capacity to solve any, but at least I don't think anyways that you'll have an SEC that is as aggressive as they are right now, kind of like pointing out all the good players for the most part. So
yeah, MDSN is single entity skewing the results of polling market. I don't think on the main election poll they are, because there's 2 billion in volume nearly going through this. I think I know the piece you're on about, like any markets that are referring to Trump, there's a single entity betting on those markets, but unless they've got some serious fucking capital, they're not causing this to skew that drastic, I don't think.
So MDS has just asked an incredibly great question, and I think that ship has already sailed. So the question is, do you really want Trump to win and embrace crypto, or should crypto not be anti-establishment? So absolutely, we want crypto to be anti-establishment, and it was built to be exactly that. But unfortunately, what we've discovered over particularly the last 3 years and last 4 years, is that the US is very central to where crypto is going to go. If we didn't rely on the US, and particularly the US markets, I wouldn't give a flying around this question. So do I want Trump to embrace crypto right now? I think it's the only option we have. And the fact that we've got ETFs based in America and all the attention based on ETFs in America, because Hong Kong does an ETF, no one gives a shit. The New York Stock Exchange does, and BlackRock does. And, the market really does react to that kind of thing. So unfortunately, we are beholden to the Americans, and what happens there is going to end up having a massive effect to us downstream. So unfortunately, Bitcoin is not what it was meant to be. It should definitely be anti-establishment. It should definitely be about the people, for the people, but that's, even if we are retarded, but that's not what's happening.
Yeah, we've been co-opted. Tricked into thinking the end result was the bankers buying our bags, and then they've bought too much, and now they control it.
And now, Yeah, I mean, we could debate that for ages, and we do. We discuss that. A lot on the Blockmates Orange, which is obviously one of the
Yeah,
podcasts that we have, and
some great takes
yeah,
on
it's
philosophical
this
points of
great.
view. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our familiar favorites, Phantom's been very strong.
So Phantom's an interesting one as well on the short term. Like, don't be trying to trade that thing on the short term. I think it's a lost cause. It's what you said to me last week. In fact, you said, dude, don't even bother with 4-hour charts. Even just look at daily and mostly weekly. Just look at it from a weekly perspective and then go forth.
There's lots of weird dynamics with a Phantom as an asset. I think it's great to express interest in Sonic. I think it's one of the better ways to do that. I think ecosystem players are probably better, and the reason I say that is because there's going to be like the one-to-one conversion for tokens on the market, and then there's also going to be additional tokens for the Sonic token. So you have to kind of take that into account. I believe any additional vesting from FTM is just going to be auto unlocked, so it can be migrated. So there are like some weird dynamics with Phantom as a native asset to hold. But if anyone's going to come in with size to want to express their interest in Sonic, it's going to be in Phantom and then go through the migration that way. I had Michael Kong, the new CEO of Sonic, on last week. I think that comes out next week. But the main takeaways for me currently what's happening with the L2 space and the app chain space. Obviously, we've seen Uniswap state that it's general purpose L2. I don't buy that for a second. It's a fucking app chain until there's like an ecosystem built around it, in my opinion. Specifically when they've designed the network to benefit the execution of Uniswap in and of itself. So you can call itself a general purpose. It's an app chain. It's an app chain. But the question arises then is, are applications on L2s getting paid what they're worth from being on the L2 as opposed to just absorbing fees from usage of the protocol? Or are they sick of effectively paying rent to the underlying general purpose L2, which make a shit ton of money, which all spans from people paying gas on the network, and people only pay gas on the network to use successful applications. So Sonic and Eclipse is doing this as well, and the SVM L2 that's on kind of DevNet at the minute. So Sonic, Eclipse, and I believe Blast to do this as well, but they haven't really made a song and dance about it, which was because they're too busy kind of creating incentive programs on top of incentive programs. But effectively, what they're doing to kind of act as an antidote to that and like provide a good network for emerging apps to actually deploy on, they're saying, well, with a portion of the gas fees that get submitted to the network, that's not going to us. We're not going to use that for our sequencer fees and then submit and like and earn the difference between how much it costs to submit back to the L1 based on how much people are paying gas. They're basically going to redistribute the majority of the gas back to the apps that are causing people to transact on the network. So any applications that are causing people to transact with their smart contracts, they're going to get the lion's share of the revenue from the gas transactions on the network. So that incentivizes apps to not want to go further afield and spin up their own app chains, which might look good, like on some of these rollups as a service where you can deploy an L2 for like 3K. Then you've got your maintenance, then you've got your block explorer, you've got your oracles, you've got absolutely everything that comes with having a successful L2 or network in and of itself, which is probably millions of dollars a year. I think it's like over $1 million a year for Etherscan to spin up a bespoke block explorer for you. So things are really, really expensive when you do that. So they want to create applications to have one specific network, but they can also get kickback from the gas that they're generating on the network, which I think is a much better way of doing it. So Luke ran a script. He's been running a couple of scripts on these networks that do that. So with Phantom, Luke's in the chat. So we believe one of the paint swap games that they rolled out was one of the highest gas consumers on Phantom. So that should be true for Sonic as well. So they'll have good incentives and reward mechanisms going back to the Brush token, hopefully, if that plays out well. And then Beethoven, which is the DEX, I think that's created by a balancer, if I'm not mistaken. I
Yeah,
think
it
it's
is.
still owned by Balancer.
Mm.
They were really high as well. And then we need to have a look what apps deploy on Eclipse to see if there's going to be any like really good gas equivalent apps on Eclipse, because they'll get the same thing. And then I haven't really taken a look at Blast. I'm not really bullish on Blast, so but I'd like to know from a comparison perspective, like how much of these apps going to be incentivized and all that kind of good stuff. So lots of good stuff happening. We'll be covering a shitload of that on the Mill Deal side as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Phoenix that is Phantom is currently in the making. There's still a lot of non-believers. There's a lot of people who are fading because of, whatever bad juju there was before. But I think there definitely does seem to be an intention from that whole team to get stuff going. And I think, so Rahul's in chat and he's saying, he feels that we're too degen, and there's no denying that there is very much a degen side of what we do. But I think we also do have our feet firmly on the ground when it comes to getting a good perspective on what's happening in the space, particularly from a DeFi perspective. And I think there's a lot of opportunity on Phantom right now if you are looking for early plays. You've got stuff that's, 2, 3, 4 million market cap with a tremendous amount of potential and, more importantly, application within the ecosystem. So I don't think it's true to say that you're late, or that everything is FOMO right now. I think Phantom could quite easily do a 3 or a 4x from here, and for a major to do that I think it's quite early. People just have not gotten their attention to what's happening in the ecosystem. When we started talking about a lot of these things, they were probably like 30% of the price they are right now. So I think there's been at least quite a few 2 and 3x's. And I think there's even more opportunity coming with what's happening on Phantom. And just to quickly deviate and answer your question, Raul, again, I think Bitcoin L2s, but more importantly, I think from a pure academic perspective, I think they all are side chains at this point in time. There isn't really a true L2 besides the Lightning Network, believe it or not, in terms of what is defined as a side chain versus a L2, but it doesn't matter. Just for the sake of this conversation, L2s I think are very significant. I think the Bitcoin finance DeFi aspect of where we are going, or that journey for Bitcoin, is only beginning, and I think we're going to see possibly something that's very similar to what we saw with Ethereum within the context of Bitcoin and provisioning smart contracts or derivatives of smart contracts, and allowing Bitcoin to become a collateralized asset and a yield-bearing asset. So I think that whole space is evolving before our very eyes, and very, very quickly. We've probably got around 100 L2/side chains that are in development. I mean, CoreDAO is like one of the biggest players in the space. You've got Pendle now that's basically come in and is showing us that they want to get involved in the space. They see the value of this $1 trillion asset, and it's game on. So we've got another podcast which is called the Blockmates Orange. I host that one, and we basically get down to the nitty gritty of what's happening in that space. So go check it out. Can't hear you, Grant. You're muted.
I'm just saying, there's no better resource to learn about what's happening like in the next evolution of Bitcoin than that channel, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm biased, but definitely. A few of the ones that have been pointed out on Phantom, I know we've covered them, but I think like if like Shitcoin Casino kicks off, continuing from where we've previously been, Equal is probably in a very, very good position to absorb all of that, because people should be bribing depth of liquidity for that. I think that would be really, really well positioned. Obviously, to follow on from Andre's design anywhere, with a few different iterations with emissions and stuff like that. So I like that. Problem is, I'm not really one to lock up capital. I learned from that last cycle. So some of the ghost remnants in my debank history are more embarrassing than my internet search history. So there's no fucking way I'm doing that again. And then there's been stuff like Goggles, THC, which I think is like actually dragged Messi into the shitcoin arena. He's seen the light.
Yes. So
He's gone full
this
retard.
this is the one. This is the one that got him in. It would be marijuana associated to kick off because I think he does enjoy his marijuana, and it's like.
And then the more recent one is that Familio, which is very small market cap, so I'll bring that one up. But yeah, there's a lot of shit happening. So definitely worth a peek, and it's something where people will probably not go and look over there until it's a little bit too late because of what's happened prior. But there's you can't deny like the team moving in the right direction.
What else
it's already got a existing ecosystem. So
what else is top of mind narrative wise at the moment in the space?
Let's have a little look.
Any decent AI players that are still kind of like warming up?
There is no second best. There is only Tau and nothing else.
So what's interesting about this one, and I've actually been wanting to ask you this kind of like aspect of the narrative, is that there's a lot of non-believers around BitTensor, and I'm just wondering, like, how does BitTensor break out of that kind of like, well, we actually are relevant and we actually do have something to offer that the space needs, or does it matter?
I quite like that there's a lot of people that still heathens that don't believe. I know it's obviously had the run up and the meat of the huge move. A lot of people have missed out on, and I think what it'll take, which is already happening, is some of the subnets to be out competing their more centralized competitors, which is happening in droves at the minute. And then as these subnets expand and then continue to outcompete what a private company can do by effectively crowdsourcing some of the best minds in that specific niche of whatever the end result they want from that specific subnet is. That'll make the news, that'll come out, then everyone will want to kind of collaborate on this kind of thing. And particularly when they see how lucrative these fucking things will be, and with dynamic Tau coming very soon, people are being able to kind of speculate on which subnets they believe to be driving the most value from. So there's that speculative asset that comes back to it, whilst retaining the kind of value drivers of the Tau token as well. So there's just a shit ton happening in that ecosystem. And not to plug another Blockmates production, but Tau Talk is literally the best thing I listen to all like during a week at the minute, because there's that much going on. It gets consolidated by 563 and Brody, and then whoever guests they bring on. But yeah, you can kind of see the people who haven't had a look at it when they talk about it, because they don't have the first clue what they're talking about, which is good. You need, like we've said it before, you need polarizing opinions on both sides of it, and it helped fuel rallies, because you've got the cultists that are extremely diehard, who've been, they're from day one. They're probably all rich as fuck now, so they'll just sing it from all the rooftops. And then you've got the people who've missed it, who are probably funding some private investments like Sentient and all the others, to try and compete against it. And then it's like a more purist approach versus your VC backed approach, which typically always happens, and there's typically always just one winner. So
yeah, I mean, I think
Waj's on it as well. We should
Luke makes a very good point. It's kind of like that whole cult aspect really does demonstrate what happened with XRP and with Cardano. And as much as I dislike both of them, there's no substitute for that kind of, mentality, and more importantly, that kind of loyalty. And I think that's what TAR is starting to show. And that's why you get guys like Erica Wall who sit, and kind of like throw stones at it. Because
it's the very essence of what we say every single time. And like Raul's kind of saying it in the chat there, like it pumps 3x and everyone's a believer. Yes, but that's everything. That's the whole industry. The reason you don't see huge communities form around high FTV, low float tokens that leave no meat on the bone for the average man on the street to make any money is because you only form a community when people get fucking rich in that community. And like I don't know, everyone, price is the best part.
How many times do we say that to founders? It's like, do you want your protocol to be successful? Yes, of course I do. Well, what is your strategy around making sure that people make a shit ton of money in the process? Not everyone's going to make money, but those who come and support you early on, how are you going to make them win in this game? Do you have a plan? No, I don't. Well, dude, don't bother.
Yeah, because if like, I know we keep repeating ourselves, but like, if the trade's already played out in the private markets by the time it's gone to Series A or Series B before a token even fucking launches, like, who are you expecting to kind of turn into evangelists there when a token is down only and they've just probably seen all your big swinging dick marketing go to market and then everything's just down only from there, and they've just kind of put like 30% of the portfolio in because they've been touted that it's the best thing since sliced bread, as opposed to something that starts off extremely low, is as fair launch as physically possible. Obviously, there's going to be a power law where people who are more savvy and have more tech and more in the know that can mine or pre-mine all this kind of shit and have a large portion of the supply. But you need to leave enough meat on the bone for an extremely large cohort of people to make some serious returns, and then they turn into this kind of like crowd of mercenaries for your ecosystem or your token or your protocol. Like it's always what happens, but people don't get it.
So there's a nice dip that's happening on this thing, and it's just what I've found really interesting about TIA is that it doesn't do anything for like literally weeks at a time, and then when it does, it just does what you see there. You know, like you got the weekly, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row where it just went boom, and you'll probably find now that it will kind of like chill for another week or two. But based on what the market's doing right now, I don't think we're going to see much chill here. I think it's going to do good things in the weeks ahead. And as long as Bitcoin, let's just talk about Bitcoin quickly. I mean, we've got the 70K liquidity that's lying in wait, and we'll probably reject when we do get there, I think quite soon. And then it eventually breaks through this bull flag that it's currently been forming for the last 300 years. But once this is done, I think we're going to see some really cool stuff happen in this market. And right now, unfortunately, a Trump win would indicate that it will really send. If she wins, I don't know. I think all bets are off in terms of what we've seen from that administration. So that's my take on it at the moment.
My trusty blue line is my take.
It's a great blue line, that, by the way, meticulously drawn and pointing in very much the right direction of $133,420.
January 26. That'd be nice.
Yeah. So just before we wrap it up, because I've got to go to town. What do you kind of like over the next couple of weeks? What's your main focus? What is you kind of like? Is it more of the same? More in the trenches? What's happening on your side?
Yeah, I think pretty much more of the same. I want to understand what's happening in Aptos a little bit more. You've mentioned it on Round Trippers this week, but if gaming really gets a kick from what's happening with off the grid, then there's probably something to be said there. It only takes one to stir up a full narrative, in my opinion. And Aptos has kind of been trying to tap into that Korean market for quite a long time now, so could potentially have something going on there. There's Atlas from Star Atlas. There's Shrap on Avalanche for the Shrapnel token. There's just a shit ton of stuff that we need to do some digging on internally from a research perspective. So Aptos, gaming, obviously more DeFi stuff. And then you're starting to see little nod of alpha. There seems to be these tokenized IP and patents for specific drugs that are coming onto the market,
Oh
where
wow.
some of them are ripping absolute fucking bajillion X's. And there's a team now that are being able to license specific IP for specific patents for certain drugs. So you're probably going to see I don't think it'll be immediate, but someone's going to get very, very rich off trading IP on some of these drugs, and then everyone's going to want to do it, and that's going to open the fucking floodgates. So keep an eye on, I don't know if it's science.fun or pump.science or something like that. But that's quite an interesting one. I'm going to try and get them on the podcast. It's kind of my past life and this life tied into one. So those couple of areas are quite interesting, but again, need to get the research team to do a little bit more digging first.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, yeah, we're gonna do a lot more within the meal deal. I'm actually gonna do, I think maybe two rounds on risk management and how to navigate the markets, in terms of just preserving your capital and then putting your capital to good use. So that's something that I'm working on at the moment. Meal deal, for those who don't know, it's our subscription service, but it's not like any of the other things that you would deem as a subscription service. We actually do provide you with weapons, swords, cannons to go out there and do your thing in the markets. And yeah, I mean, I think our research is top. And it's something, that's stuff we do. We're not laughing. We out in the wilderness doing the stuff that you guys are doing, and we're relaying that stuff and the research that we use. And yeah, it's about community, it's about learning, it's about growing in the space as opposed to being spoon-fed. So if that's what resonates with you, join up, come check it out for a month. It's really not expensive, and I think we provide tremendous value. So on that note, I'm out of here. I've got to get in the car and rush to town. Guys, pleasure. Thank you.
And everyone who's listening on YouTube, please just give us a like and subscribe, because our numbers, those are rookie numbers. We need to up those numbers. Yeah. Thanks for listening. See you next week. See you in Discord. Bye.